My name is Clara Whitmore, and I am 34 years old. 3 weeks ago, my mother appeared on my front porch for the first time in almost a decade. She was wearing a gray wool cardigan, carrying a small rolling suitcase, and holding a folded sheet of paper in one hand. That paper was not a letter. It was not an apology. It was a list. 5 neat bullet points written in blue pen. Every line ended with a dollar amount. The total was $910,000. She did not ask how I had been. She did not ask about my children. She did not ask about the husband she had refused to accept. She looked me straight in the eye and said, "We need to discuss what you owe this family." What she did not know was that I had a list too. Mine was not one page. Mine was a thick black binder that had been sitting in the bottom drawer of my office desk for 9 years. Inside were returned birthday cards, unopened envelopes, screenshots, call logs, voicemail transcripts, and the letter that ended my place in the family. 31 items, every one dated, every one labeled, every one saved. She brought a list of what she wanted. I brought a record of what she had done. Before I tell you what happened at that kitchen table, take a second to like this video and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you are watching from, because I read as many of them as I can. Now let me take you back to the year I turned 25, back to the year my family decided I was no longer worth claiming. I grew up in Fairbrook, Missouri. It was the kind of town where everyone knew your last name before they knew your first. 2 churches, 1 diner, 1 grocery store, 1 high school football field, and a main street that looked almost exactly the same in every season. My father, Russell Whitmore, worked at the same hardware supply company for 30 years. He left the house at 6:40 every morning and came home at 5:35 every evening, quiet, tired, and predictable. My mother, Elaine, was different. She ran our home the way other people ran corporations. She managed everything: the church fundraiser, the Christmas program, the ladies' committee, Sunday meals, family birthdays, community gossip. Nothing moved in Fairbrook without Elaine Whitmore having an opinion about it. My younger sister, Brooke, was her favorite. Everyone knew it. Brooke was bright, pretty, loud, charming, and completely used to being adored. My father called her Little Star. My mother called her Our Joy. I was the responsible daughter, the one who got good grades, cleaned the kitchen without being asked, watched Brooke when my parents were busy, and never made a scene. In our family, love was not divided equally. It was assigned, and Brooke always received the bigger portion. When I got a full academic scholarship to the University of Illinois, I thought maybe things would change. I was the first person in our family to go away to college. My mother helped me pack and tucked a card into my suitcase. On the front were pink flowers. Inside, she had written, "Come home soon. This will always be your place." I kept that card for years. It was one of the last tender things she ever gave me. I met Adrian Cole during my junior year. He was in my data analytics class, 2 seats ahead of me, always early, always calm, always taking notes with this intense, quiet focus. Adrian was studying software engineering. I was studying finance. He wanted to build technology that helped small companies survive complicated systems. I wanted numbers to tell the truth. Our first date was at a small noodle place near campus. We were both broke, so we split 1 large bowl and 2 iced teas. We talked until the staff started stacking chairs. He told me his mother, Maribel, had raised him alone after his father left when he was 5. She worked as a public school secretary, then a librarian, then whatever else she had to do to keep the lights on. Adrian was biracial. His mother was Latina, his father was white. He had his mother's warmth and his father's sharp jawline. But what I loved most was the way he listened. When Adrian listened to you, he made you feel like every word mattered. We dated for 3 years before he asked me to marry him. He did not do it in a restaurant. There was no hidden photographer, no violin, no expensive ring at first. We were sitting at our tiny kitchen table in our apartment. The radiator was making noise. There were unpaid bills stacked next to a bowl of oranges. He took my hand and said, "I don't just want a wedding. I want a life with you. I want to build everything with you. Will you marry me?" I said yes before he finished the sentence. That night, I called home. My mother answered. I told her I was engaged. There was silence. Not happy silence, heavy silence. Then she said, "Clara, you need to think very carefully about what this will do to this family. Not congratulations, not tell me everything, not I am happy for you. A warning." My father got on the other line, cleared his throat, and said nothing. 2 days later, Brooke texted me. "Mom has been crying nonstop. I hope you're proud of yourself." I did not answer, because for the first time in my adult life, I was proud of myself. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. Cream-colored paper, my mother's handwriting, 4 paragraphs. The final paragraph said, "If you marry him, you are choosing him over us. We will not attend. We will not support this. And if you walk into that marriage, do not expect to walk back into this family. He is not our kind, Clara. He never will be." I read that line over and over. He is not our kind. That was the sentence that divided my life into before and after. I folded the letter, placed it in a folder, and put it in my desk. I did not know then why I was saving it. Something in me just knew I should. Adrian and I got married at the county courthouse on a warm Friday afternoon in June. 14 people came. His mother, Maribel, flew in from Chicago with a garment bag and homemade almond cookies packed in a plastic container. She helped me pin my hair back, adjusted the sleeve of my dress. Then she held my face in both hands and said, "You are family now, sweetheart. Don't ever doubt that." No one from my side came. There was no father walking me down an aisle. There was no aisle, just a hallway, fluorescent lights, a judge who mispronounced Adrian's last name, and a little room where we promised each other forever. My dress cost $145 from a resale boutique. Adrian wore a charcoal suit he bought on clearance. Afterward, we went to a Thai restaurant with everyone who came. We pushed 3 tables together, ate too much curry, and laughed until Maribel cried. That night, after everyone left, I sat on the edge of our bed holding my small bouquet of grocery store roses. I was married. I was happy, and I was grieving, because the people who raised me decided my wedding was not worth witnessing. A week later, I mailed a card to my parents. Inside was a photo of Adrian and me standing outside the courthouse. I wrote, "We are happy. I hope one day you can be happy for us too." 11 days later, the card came back, stamped in red, "Returned to sender." I stared at that red stamp for a long time. Then I opened the folder with my mother's letter and placed the returned card inside. I wrote on the outside in red pen, "Item 2, wedding photo returned." That was the beginning of the binder. The first year was brutal. I called my mother 4 times. She never picked up. I left careful voicemails. "Hi, Mom. Just checking in. Adrian started his new job. I'm studying for my licensing exam. I miss you. Call when you're ready." She never called. I sent birthday cards, returned. Christmas card, returned. Father's Day card, returned. My father sent one text that year, "Your mother needs space." That was it. 4 words. No follow-up, no apology, no attempt to meet me halfway. Brooke posted a family dinner photo that spring. Mom, Dad, Brooke, and her boyfriend at the table. The caption said, "Sunday night with my favorite people." I was not in the photo. I had not been invited. I printed the screenshot, not because I wanted to punish myself, because I had started keeping records. By the end of that first year, the folder was too full, so I bought a binder. black cover, 3 rings, divider tabs, red pen labels. Year 1, 7 items. I was not planning revenge. I was not building a legal case. I was doing what I had been trained to do as a finance person. Keep documentation, because numbers can be questioned. Documents are harder to deny. By our 2nd year of marriage, Adrian quit his job. Not impulsively. He had been building a software prototype at night and on weekends. It was a regulatory compliance platform for small businesses, especially companies too small to afford full legal departments, but too regulated to ignore paperwork. He understood the code. I understood the finances. Together, we understood the problem. Small businesses were drowning in compliance, and nobody was building tools for them. We set up 2 desks in our garage. His had 3 monitors and a keyboard that clicked too loudly. Mine had spreadsheets, pricing models, market research, and a heater that barely worked. We ate soup from mugs and worked until midnight. Adrian built the engine. I built the pricing model, the financial projections, the customer onboarding system, and the audit templates. We called the company ClearLedger. ClearLedger launched with 6 customers and a free trial that broke twice in the first week. It was messy. It was exhausting. It was ours. That same year, I upgraded the binder. By then, it included my mother's letter, returned cards, screenshots, call logs, and 1 voicemail transcript. I gave each year its own tab. I numbered everything. I dated everything. Red pen, always red pen. When our twins were born, everything changed. Eli and Nora arrived on a cold November morning. Eli came first, quiet and sleepy. Nora arrived 3 minutes later and screamed like she had a legal complaint against the world. Adrian cried when he held them. I had never seen him cry before. He stood by the hospital window with 1 baby in each arm and whispered, "They will never wonder if they are loved." Maribel arrived the next morning. She stayed for 16 days. She cooked, she cleaned, she folded laundry, she rocked Nora at 3 a.m. so I could feed Eli. She brought 2 hand-knitted blankets and 2 tiny silver bracelets engraved with the twins' birth date. That was what a grandmother looked like. I had sent my mother the ultrasound photos 5 months earlier. Returned. I sent birth announcements. Returned. I sent photos of Eli asleep on Adrian's chest and Nora gripping my finger. Returned. 3 more items went into the binder, items 13, 14, and 15. Then a high school acquaintance sent me a screenshot. Brooke had texted her, "Clara's kids don't have real grandparents. That's what she chose." I sat in the nursery with that message open on my phone for almost 10 minutes. Nora was asleep. Eli was in my arms. Maribel was in the kitchen humming while she washed bottles. My children did have a grandmother. Her name was Maribel Cole. She flew in every 6 weeks. She never missed a birthday. She knew their favorite snacks, their first words, their shoe sizes, their bedtime songs. I printed Brooke's message, item 16, dated, filed. By year 4, the binder had 20 items. Most days I forgot about it. It sat in the bottom drawer of my desk behind tax folders, insurance papers, and old mortgage documents. But whenever something came back, whenever another card was returned or another screenshot arrived, I filed it. Print, label, date, red pen, tab. Adrian asked me once, "Why keep all of it?" I told him the truth. One day the kids may ask why they don't know my side of the family. I don't want to give them a version. I want to give them facts. He nodded. Adrian understood facts. Engineers keep logs. By then, ClearLedger had 12 employees. We had moved from the garage into a small office with bad carpet and great sunlight. I was still working full-time as a financial analyst while handling ClearLedger's books at night. Adrian worked constantly. But dinner at 6:30 was sacred. No phones, no laptops, no investor calls, just us and the twins throwing peas on the floor. The silence from Missouri became part of the background noise of my life. Sometimes I noticed it, most days I did not. By year 5, Clear Ledger was growing steadily. Not flashy, not overnight success, real growth. Customers renewed, employees stayed, revenue increased. We bought our first house in Portland, a small craftsman with 3 bedrooms, hardwood floors, and a backyard with a cherry tree that Eli and Nora claimed as their castle. When I signed the mortgage paperwork, I remember thinking, nobody gave us this. We built it. That year, Brooke got married. I found out from Instagram. The wedding was at the same church where I had sung in the children's choir. White flowers, 200 guests, my mother in pale blue, my father in a new suit, Brooke in a lace gown with a long veil. They did not invite me. They did not tell me. I saw the photos 4 days later when someone posted, "Best wedding ever." I zoomed in on the picture. My parents were standing in the second row, smiling. They looked happy, and somehow that hurt more than if they had looked ashamed. I ordered Brooke a wedding gift anyway, a set of monogrammed linen towels from a small shop in Portland. I included a card. "Congratulations, I wish you both happiness. Love, Clara." The package came back 3 weeks later, unopened. The tape had not even been cut. Item 18, wedding gift returned. Dated, filed. Then I closed the binder and listened to Nora singing in the bathtub, while Eli asked Adrian whether sharks could get sunburned. That was my family, and they were enough. Year 7 changed everything. Clear Ledger closed a $14 million Series B funding round. Adrian got the call while making pancakes. He listened, nodded, hung up, and said, "They said yes." I calculated the valuation before he flipped the next pancake. Post-money valuation, $72 million. Adrian and I still owned 24%. We were not wealthy in a practical sense yet, but on paper, the numbers were beginning to look unreal. I left my analyst job and joined Clear Ledger full-time as CFO. For the first time, my name appeared beside Adrian's in official company filings. Co-founder, chief financial officer, partner. The announcement made a small ripple. A fintech newsletter covered it, a local business journal wrote a short article, a few industry people congratulated us. Nothing huge, but someone in Fairbrook noticed. 2 weeks after the article, an old friend named Melanie texted me, "This is strange, but your mom asked about Adrian's company after church. She wanted to know what Series B means." I read that message 3 times. 9 years of silence. Then suddenly, she wanted vocabulary lessons and venture capital. That same year, I sent what I knew would probably be my final birthday card. I had sent one every year. Every year, it came back. This time, I included a photo of Eli and Nora at their school fall festival. Eli had face paint on his cheek. Nora was missing one front tooth. On the back, I wrote, "They ask about you sometimes. I tell them you live far away." I mailed it. 9 days later, it came back. But this envelope was different. It had been opened. The flap was creased. The glue had been cut. Someone had resealed it with clear tape. The card was still inside. The photo was still inside. But someone had taken it out. Someone had looked. I sat at the kitchen table holding that envelope for a long time. I knew it was my father. I could feel it. He had opened it. He had seen his grandchildren's faces. He had wanted to keep the photo. And my mother had made him send it back. Item 24. Birthday card opened, photo viewed, envelope resealed, still returned. For the first time in years, my hand shook while writing the label, because that envelope told me what I had suspected for a long time. My father was not the architect of the silence. He was the guard at the gate. My mother had drawn the blueprint. By year 8, Clear Ledger had 90 employees, offices in Portland and Denver, and contracts with several regional accounting firms. Adrian appeared on the cover of a regional business magazine. The headline called him the builder behind compliance automation. Around that time, I started noticing strange LinkedIn activity. Private profile, location, Fairbrook, Missouri, 3 views in 1 week. Then, Forbes included Clear Ledger in a companies to watch list. Tiny mention, 2 sentences, but it was Forbes. A week later, Melanie texted again. Your mom told Linda she always knew Adrian was brilliant. I laughed once, not because it was funny, because after 9 years, my mother had started editing the past. She had not always known Adrian was brilliant. She had called him not our kind. She was not proud. She was recalculating. The numbers had changed, and my mother had always understood social math better than emotional truth. Then came the group chat screenshots. Melanie called me one evening while I was waiting in the parking lot during Eli's soccer practice. She sounded nervous. Clara, Brooke accidentally added me to a family group chat. I think she meant to add someone else. I was in it for 2 days before they removed me. I took screenshots. She sent 9 images. I read them in my car with the engine off. Brooke, her company was valued at $72 million last round. If they go public, this could be huge. Elaine, how do we approach her? Russell, maybe I should call first. Just talk. Elaine, no, we need a plan. Brooke, make a list. Clara thinks in numbers. Give her numbers. Elaine, what should we include? Brooke, mortgage, retirement, Dad's medical expenses, Thomas's college, monthly support. Don't make it sound like begging. Make it sound like family responsibility. Russell, this feels wrong. Elaine, she has more money than anyone in this town combined. She can help her family. There it was. 9 years of returned cards, 9 years of ignored children, 9 years of silence. And now they were designing an approach. I printed the screenshots that night. Item 27. Family group chat, financial tracking, intent documented. If this part of the story feels familiar, leave a comment, because I think many of us know what it feels like when people only remember you after your life becomes useful to them. That night, after the twins went to bed, I showed Adrian. He read the screenshots slowly, the way he reads code, looking for the broken logic. When he finished, he placed my phone on the counter and asked, "What do you want to do?" "Nothing yet," I said, "but I want to be ready." He nodded. That was Adrian. He did not tell me how to feel. He stood beside me while I decided. The next morning, I called a family attorney. Her name was Grace Alvarez. She was direct, experienced, and almost impossible to shock. I explained the estrangement, the children, the money, the screenshots, and the possibility that my mother might show up making demands. Grace told me what I needed to know. My parents had no legal claim to our assets. Oregon grandparent visitation law would not help them because there was no existing relationship. The children's trusts could be structured so no relative could touch them, and documented estrangement mattered. 9 years of returned contact attempts, she said, that is not a misunderstanding. That is a pattern. I thanked her and hung up. That week, I wrote a letter I never sent. It listed every item in the binder, every returned card, every unanswered call, every screenshot, every date. It was 27 items long. I folded the letter and put it inside the binder. I did not know whether I would ever need it. Then came year 9. The IPO process began in January. Investment bankers flew in, lawyers filled conference rooms, analysts reviewed our numbers, people used phrases like roadshow, pricing range, lockup period, investor demand, and risk disclosure. Adrian handled product, I handled the financials. Every model, every forecast, every filing. My name was on the documents, CFO, co-founder, the person responsible for making sure the numbers told the truth. The process took 7 months, 7 months of due diligence, interviews, meetings, revisions, calls, travel, and barely sleeping. Eli once asked why Dad kept talking to his computer at dinner. Nora drew a picture of me sitting at my desk. In the speech bubble, she wrote, "Just one more email." In August, Grace finalized the children's trusts. 2 irrevocable trusts, fully protected. No relative from my side could access them. Not my mother, not my father, not Brooke. Not any future version of a Whitmore who decided family mattered after the stock price went up. I signed the documents in a glass office overlooking the Willamette River. I asked Grace one question: what happens if a family member tries to claim access? She said, "Nothing. That is the point." I went home, made pasta, helped Nora with fractions, and placed the trust documents in the fire safe under our bed. Then everything went quiet. No LinkedIn views, no church gossip from Melanie, no texts, nothing. That kind of quiet has a sound. It is the sound of people preparing. 2 months before the IPO, Brooke texted me for the first time in 9 years. "Hey, been thinking about you. How are the kids?" 6 words. 9 years. How are the kids? As if she had been asking all along. I did not respond for a week. Then she sent another message. "I'll be in Portland next month for work. Would love to see you." Adrian said, "It's your decision." I agreed to meet her. Not at my house. A cafe downtown. Public, neutral, time limited. Brooke arrived 15 minutes late wearing a cream blazer and expensive boots. She hugged me too long and told me I looked amazing 4 times in the first 10 minutes. Then the questions started. Where exactly did we live? How big was the house? Did the twins attend private school? Was Adrian still CEO? How many employees did Clear Ledger have now? Had we raised more money? Were we planning to sell? Did I still own shares? 34 questions. I counted. Not one was, "I am sorry." Halfway through the meeting, I noticed her phone angled toward the window. She was photographing my car, a white electric SUV Adrian had bought me for my birthday. She was not reconnecting. She was collecting information. I let her finish her latte. I answered vaguely. When I got home, I opened the binder. Item 29, Brooke reconnaissance visit. 34 questions. Vehicle photographed. No apology. No acknowledgement of estrangement. Then I called Grace. "They're coming," I said. Grace asked, "Your mother?" "Probably. Soon." I told her about the group chat and Brooke's visit. Grace was quiet for a moment. "You already handled the legal side," she said. "This is not really a legal confrontation. This is a personal one. You need to decide what you are willing to say." She was right. I did not need a lawsuit. I needed the truth. Clear Ledger went public on a Wednesday morning in October. Adrian and I stood together in New York watching the opening price appear on the screen. The stock opened at $19. By noon, it was $21. By closing, it was $23. Market cap, roughly $460 million. Our remaining stake, just under 10%. Paper net worth, $45 million. I kept staring at that number. It looked like a mistake. Too many zeros. But I had checked the formula. Checking formulas was my job. Tech sites covered it. Bloomberg mentioned Adrian. A local news station called us a local success story. They showed a company photo of us side by side. Equal founders, equal partners. That night, Adrian and I ordered sushi to our hotel room and ate it in bathrobes while looking out over Times Square. The twins were back in Portland with Maribel. Adrian fell asleep on the couch before 10, still exhausted from the day. I stayed awake, not because of the IPO, because I knew what would come next. My phone lit up. 5 missed calls. Missouri area code. 1 from my father, 2 from unknown numbers, 1 from Brooke, and 1 from my mother. 9 years, $45 million, and suddenly Clara Whitmore was worth calling. My father's voicemail arrived the next morning. His voice sounded older. "Clara, I saw you on the news, you and Adrian. I don't really know what to say. I'm proud of you. I always have been." A long pause. "Your mother wants to talk. Please call her when you can. I love you, sweetheart." I played it 3 times. I wanted those words. I had wanted them for almost a decade. But I listened to the timing. He called after the IPO, not after my wedding, not after the twins were born, not after the returned cards, not after the photo he opened and sent back, after the IPO. He was proud of me when pride came with headlines. He loved me when loving me no longer cost him anything in Fairbrook. I saved the voicemail. I did not put it in the binder. It was too sad for the binder. 2 days after we returned home, my mother texted. It was long and polished. "Clara, I know time has passed between us. I think about you and the children often. Life is short, and sometimes families must move beyond old disagreements. I would like to speak about the future, about the children, and about what family should mean. I believe we can find a way forward if you are open to it." I read it twice. 67 words, 0 apologies, 0 I was wrong, not one mention of Adrian, not one acknowledgement that she had rejected my children before ever meeting them. She called it old disagreements, as if this were a debate about table decorations, as if she had not written, "He is not our kind." I screenshotted the text, printed it. Item 30. First text from Elaine in 9 years. 67 words. 0 apologies. Melanie called me that Friday. "Your mom is coming to Portland," she said. "I know." "How?" "Because Brooke came first." Melanie exhaled. "She's telling people she wants to fix the family." "No," I said. "She wants people to think she fixed it." That was the real pressure. Fairbrook had changed its questions. For years, my mother could control the story. Clara chose him. Clara left us. Clara abandoned family. But after the IPO, the town wanted new details. "You must be so proud. When did you last visit the grandchildren? Are you going to Portland for the holidays? How is your son-in-law handling all that success?" Every question forced my mother toward the truth, and the truth was ugly. She had rejected her daughter for marrying a man she considered beneath her. She had ignored her grandchildren. She had returned their pictures. She had not lost me. She had pushed me away. Now she needed a public repair, and apparently a private payment. She arrived on a Tuesday at 10:28 in the morning. I remember because I saw the taxi pull up while I was standing at the kitchen sink. She stepped out wearing a gray cardigan, black pants, pearl earrings, and the same tight expression she wore when she wanted to look wounded but remain in control. She stood on the sidewalk for a while and looked at the house, the porch swing, the garden beds Adrian had built, the clean windows, the life she had never seen. She studied it like an appraiser. Then she rang the bell. I opened the door. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. "Clara." "Mom." Her eyes were damp already. "I came to talk about the children's future. Not, I missed you. Not, I am sorry. Not, I was wrong. The children's future. The children she had never held. The children's whose photos she had returned. I looked at the suitcase beside her, then at the folded paper in her hand. "Come in." I did not take her to the living room. I took her to the kitchen. The kitchen had a table, natural light, and the refrigerator covered in the twins' drawings, school photos, and one picture of Maribel holding Eli and Nora at the beach. My mother noticed that photo. Her eyes stayed on it for several seconds. I could not tell if what crossed her face was guilt or jealousy. Maybe both. I poured 2 glasses of water. No coffee. Coffee is for people who are staying. She sat down. Then she unfolded the paper. Blue ink, 5 bullet points. She read them like a proposal. Retirement support for your father and me, $500,000. I said nothing. College fund for Brooke's son Thomas, $175,000. Nothing. Your father's medical expenses and upcoming knee surgery, $55,000. Nothing. Mortgage payoff on the family home, $180,000. Nothing. Monthly family assistance, $3,000. She folded the paper and placed it on the table. The total is reasonable considering your circumstances. This is what families do, Clara. Your father worked hard his whole life. We sacrificed for you. It is time to give back. I stared at the paper. $910,000, presented like an invoice. Not once had she said she was sorry. Not once had she asked about the lives of the grandchildren whose future she claimed to care about. I picked up the paper, read it once, folded it again, set it down. Then I stood up and walked to my office. The binder was in the bottom drawer. Black cover, heavy, almost 3 inches thick. I carried it back to the kitchen and placed it beside her list. Her list, 1 page, 5 bullet points, $910,000. My binder, 31 items, 9 years, 0 apologies. She looked at it. "What is that?" I said. "You brought a list. So did I." She frowned. "I don't understand." "You will." I opened the binder to tab 1, year 1. I did not yell. I did not cry. I read the way I read financial reports to a board. Clear, organized, documented. Item 1, original letter from Elaine Whitmore, dated May 3, 2016. Sentence highlighted, "He is not our kind. He never will be." My mother's face changed. I placed the letter on the table. Item 2, wedding photo mailed June 14, 2016, returned June 25th. Envelope unopened. I placed the envelope beside the letter. Item 3, birthday card, mailed September 10, 2016, returned September 22nd. Another envelope. Item 4, Christmas card, mailed December 7, 2016, returned December 19th. I laid them out one by one. White envelopes, red stamps, returned, returned, returned. Each one was a door I had tried to open. Each one she had closed. My mother's mouth opened. "Clara, I'm not finished." I turned to the next tab. Item 7, voicemail left January 8, 2017, 49 seconds, no response. I placed the transcript down. Item 8, text from Dad, February 11, 2017, "Your mother needs space." I looked up at her. "It has been 9 years. How much space did you need?" For a moment, the kitchen was completely still. Not quiet, still. There is a difference. Quiet is when no one is speaking. Still is when even the air feels like it is waiting for someone to tell the truth. My mother stared at the papers spread across the table. The returned envelopes, the printed transcript, the old letter, the words she had written with her own hand. For the first time since she walked into my house, she looked less like a woman with a plan and more like a woman surrounded by proof. Her fingers moved toward one of the envelopes, then stopped before touching it. I watched her face carefully. I knew that face. I had studied it my whole childhood. It was the face she made when a story she controlled was slipping away from her. She looked at the first card, then the second, then the original letter. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "You did not think you would keep all of this," she said. "No," I answered. "I know you did not." Because that was the point. She had counted on my pain being disorganized. She had counted on time making the details blurry. She had counted on being able to call it a misunderstanding, a difficult period, a family disagreement, anything except what it was. But I had kept the details: dates, envelopes, messages, screenshots, every attempt, every rejection, every silence. And now they were sitting between us on the kitchen table, refusing to become vague. She looked at me, and I could see the question forming before she asked it. "Why would you do this to yourself?" I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because even surrounded by evidence, she still thought the record was the wound. It was not. The wound was what she had done. The record was how I survived being told it never happened. That was when she started crying. Not quietly, not naturally. It was the controlled cry I remembered from childhood, the one she used when she wanted everyone in the room to feel guilty without forcing her to admit fault. "I was hurt," she said. "You chose him over us." "No," I said. "You forced a choice and then punished me for not choosing your prejudice." Her crying sharpened. "You don't understand what it was like for me." "I understand exactly what it was like for you. People in Fairbrook talked, and you cared more about their whispers than your daughter's happiness." She wiped her face. "That is unfair." I turned to another tab. Item 16, screenshot of Brooke's message to a mutual friend, March 9th, 2020. I read it aloud. "Clara's kids don't have real grandparents. That's what she chose." My mother flinched. Brooke was upset. These are her exact words. I turned to the final section. Item 27, family group chat screenshots, October 4th, 2024. The room changed. She knew what was coming. I read Brooke's message. "Make a list. Clara thinks in numbers. Give her numbers." Then I read my mother's response. "She has more money than everyone in this town combined. She can help her family." The tears stopped. Her face hardened. "You had no right to read private messages." I looked at her. "You had no right to return pictures of my children." Silence. I pulled out one envelope, the opened one, the resealed one. Item 24, birthday card, year 7. This envelope was opened. Her jaw tightened. Inside was a photo of Eli and Nora at their school fall festival. On the back, I wrote, "They ask about you sometimes. I tell them you live far away." I placed the envelope in front of her. "Who opened it?" She said nothing. "Dad opened it, didn't he?" Nothing. "He wanted to keep the photo. You made him send it back." Her hands pressed flat against the table. For a moment, her expression cracked. Not tears. Fear. Real fear. Her voice became small. "If I let him keep it, then I would have had to admit I was wrong." I waited. She swallowed. "I would have had to admit I lost years for nothing." For 2 seconds, I saw the truth in her. Then it disappeared. Her chin lifted. "But you left us, Clara." And there it was. The door almost opened. Then she slammed it shut herself. I placed her list on the left side of the table. I placed my binder on the right. "Your list," I said. 5 bullet points, $910,000. No apology. Then I touched the binder. My list, 31 items, 9 years of silence, returned cards, ignored calls, rejected grandchildren, all because you married a man you decided was not good enough to be family. She stood abruptly. The chair scraped against the tile. "After everything we did for you, food, clothes, school, a roof over your head, this is how you repay us?" "You raised me," I said. "That is not a loan. That is parenting. We gave you everything." You gave me a card that said I would always have a place at home. Then you told me not to come back." She had no answer. I continued. "You said Adrian was not our kind, but for 9 years, his mother was the only grandmother my children had." The words landed. I watched them hit her. At that moment, the garage door opened. Adrian walked in through the laundry room with his laptop bag over his shoulder. He saw my mother. He saw the binder. He saw me. He did not ask questions. He put his bag down, walked to my chair, placed one hand on my shoulder, and sat beside me. No speech, no confrontation, just presence. My mother looked at him, the man she had rejected without knowing. He was wearing jeans, running shoes, and an old sweater. No expensive watch, no arrogance. Nothing about him announced millions. He was simply a good man sitting beside his wife. And I think that was when she finally understood. I did not need the Whitmore family anymore. I had built my own. I spoke quietly. "Mom, I will not give you money." She opened her mouth, but I continued. "Not because I cannot afford it, because if I write you a check, you will tell yourself you were right to wait until it benefited you. You will tell Brooke this is what family does. You will pretend the last 9 years were just a difficult season." I pushed her folded list toward her. They were not a difficult season. They were a choice. Your choice. She stared at the paper. "If you ever want to know Eli and Nora, really know them, that does not begin with a payment. It begins with an apology, not to me first, to them. And it begins only when you are ready to mean it." She picked up the paper, then her suitcase. She walked to the front door. For one moment, she turned back. Her mouth opened, then closed, and she left. The door did not slam. It clicked shut. Some exits are quiet because the person leaving knows they have lost something they can't buy back. 2 weeks passed. Adrian and I did not talk about her much. There was not much left to analyze. She had arrived with a demand. I had answered with evidence. She had left without apologizing, without forgiveness, and without the version of the story she had hoped to create. But real family damage does not end the moment someone walks out the door. It lingers. It echoes. It waits for the next phone call, the next message, the next decision about whether a person is truly changing or simply trying a new strategy. And that's what I had to learn next. Because saying no to my mother was only one part of the story. The harder part was deciding what to do with the people who came after her. For several days after my father's call, I kept expecting something dramatic to happen. I expected my mother to write a long message. I expected Brooke to send another angry text. I expected someone from Fairbrook to call and tell me that my mother had rewritten the story again, that somehow I had become the cruel daughter who abandoned her family after becoming rich. But nothing happened. The silence stretched out differently this time. For 9 years, silence had felt like punishment. Now it felt like distance. And distance, I was beginning to understand, could be a form of protection. The first scheduled phone call with my father happened 2 weeks later. I almost canceled it, not because I did not want to hear his voice, but because I was afraid of what hearing it might do to me. There are certain voices that live inside you, even when they have not spoken to you in years. My father's voice was one of them, quiet, careful, slow. A man who could spend 10 minutes choosing the right board at the lumber yard, but somehow spent 9 years avoiding the right sentence with his daughter. When the phone rang, I let it ring twice before answering. "Hi, Dad." There was a pause. "Hi, Clara." That was it. 2 words, but they carried almost a decade of missing birthdays, missed phone calls, unopened cards, returned envelopes, and all the things we both knew were sitting between us. He asked about the twins, not in a vague way, not "how are the kids" like Brooke had done. He asked their names again, even though I knew he already knew them. He asked how old they were. He asked what they liked. He asked whether Eli still had the same serious face he had in the fall festival picture. That question stopped me. "You remember the picture?" His voice changed. "Yes." I waited. He cleared his throat. "I kept looking at it in my mind after your mother sent it back." I stood in my office with the door closed and looked at the black binder on the bottom shelf. "You could have called." He answered, "I know." "You could have written." "I know." "You could have kept the picture." His breathing became uneven. "I should have." For the first time, he did not defend himself. He did not say, "Your mother was upset." He did not say the timing was hard. He did not say he was trying to keep peace in the house. He just said, "I should have." And maybe that was why I stayed on the phone. We talked for 21 minutes. I counted afterward. He did not ask about money. He did not ask about the company. He did not ask about the house. He asked whether Nora liked books. He asked whether Eli played sports. He asked whether Adrian would ever be willing to speak with him. That one took me longer to answer. "Maybe someday," I said, "but you need to understand something. Adrian owes you nothing." "I know." "No," I said, "I need you to really hear me. He owes you nothing. He does not owe you politeness, forgiveness, access, or reassurance. You rejected him before you knew him. My mother said he was not our kind, but you stood beside her when she said it." There was a long silence. Then my father said, "I was a coward." I sat down. Not because the sentence healed anything, it did not, but because it was the first honest sentence he had given me in 9 years. When we hung up, I did not feel happy. I felt tired, but not the old tired. The old tired was heavy and endless. This was different. This was the kind of tired you feel after carrying a box to the attic and finally putting it down. That evening, Adrian found me standing in the laundry room folding towels that had already been folded. "How did it go?" he asked. He apologized. Adrian leaned against the doorframe. "Did you believe him?" "Yes." "Do you trust him?" "No." He nodded. That was the thing about Adrian. He understood that belief and trust were not the same currency. Belief could happen in a moment. Trust had to be earned in installments, small ones, repeated ones, over time. That night, after the twins went to bed, I opened the binder again. I turned to the last page. Item 31 was still the final entry, my mother's visit, the list, the demand, the refusal. I picked up my red pen, uncapped it, and hovered over the page. For a moment, I considered adding my father's apology, but I did not. The binder was a record of harm. His apology did not belong there, not because it erased the harm, it did not, but because I did not want to turn every new thing into evidence. Some moments should be allowed to remain unfinished. So I closed the binder. For the first time in 9 years, I did not file the call. 3 days later, Brooke tried again. This time, she did not text. She emailed. The subject line was simple: family. I almost deleted it without opening it. Then I remembered who I was, a woman who reads documents before making decisions. So I opened it. Clara, I know things have been complicated, but I think you are being unfair to Mom. She is not perfect, but she is still your mother. You have no idea how hard these years have been on her. She cried more than you know. She carried a lot of pain. Maybe she made mistakes, but you are acting like she is some kind of monster. You have been blessed. You have more than enough. Some of us are still trying to survive. Thomas deserves opportunities too. Dad needs surgery. Mom and Dad are getting older. I do not understand why you are choosing to punish everyone when you could easily help. You always were the one who had to prove a point. Brooke. I read it twice. Then I read it a third time, not as a sister, but as a CFO. The email had structure: opening sympathy for mom, reframing of harm as complication, financial appeal, child used as emotional leverage, medical pressure, moral accusation, final character attack. It was not an apology. It wasn't even an attempt at repair. It was a sales pitch written by someone who believed guilt was a payment processor. I did not answer right away. Instead, I made tea, sat at the kitchen island, and watched Nora build a tiny cardboard house for one of her stuffed animals. She was using tape, markers, and the complete confidence of a child who had never had to beg adults to love her. Eli came in a few minutes later and asked if we could make grilled cheese the way Grammy Maribel made it. "Extra butter?" I asked. "Obviously," he said. I laughed. That was the life Brooke's email could not see. She saw assets. She saw a house. She saw a car. She saw headlines and stock prices and a chance to claim proximity. She did not see the years when Adrian and I ate leftovers in a cold garage. She did not see the nights I answered customer emails with a baby monitor beside my laptop. She did not see Maribel sleeping on our couch so I could get 3 hours of rest. She did not see the birthdays my children spent surrounded by love from one side of the family while the other side returned envelopes. She saw the harvest and called it luck. She had ignored the planting. That night, I wrote one reply. Not long, not emotional, not cruel. "Brooke, I received your email. I will not discuss money with you. If you want a relationship with me, the first step is taking responsibility for your own words and actions, including the message where you said my children did not have real grandparents and the group chat where you advised mom to make a financial list. If you are not ready to do that, there is nothing for us to discuss. Clara." I read it once. Then I sent it. Adrian was sitting beside me at the kitchen table reviewing product notes on his laptop. He looked over. "Are you okay?" "Yes," I said. And surprisingly, I meant it. Brooke replied 14 minutes later. "Wow, still keeping score." I stared at that sentence. Still keeping score. For years, that accusation would have devastated me. It would have made me question myself. Was I bitter? Was I cold? Was I unable to move on? But now I understood something I wish I had understood much earlier. People who benefit from your silence will always call your memory a problem. They will call documentation bitterness. They will call boundaries punishment. They will call accountability drama. Because if they can make you ashamed of remembering, they never have to be ashamed of what they did. I did not answer Brooke's second email. Instead, I printed both messages. I stood in my office holding the paper. The binder drawer was slightly open. For a moment, I almost filed them. Then I stopped. No, the binder had done its job. I did not need to keep proving the same truth to myself. So I placed the emails in a plain folder labeled Current Boundary. Not evidence, not history, boundary. That word mattered. Evidence was for the past. Boundaries were for the future. The twins found out about my father slowly, not as a dramatic announcement, not as a family meeting with everyone sitting stiffly in the living room. Children can sense when adults are trying too hard to make something sound normal, so I kept it simple. One Saturday morning, while Eli was eating cereal and Nora was drawing at the kitchen table, I said, "My dad called again yesterday." Nora looked up first. "Your dad?" "Yes." She frowned. "I thought you didn't talk to him." "I didn't for a long time." Eli stopped eating. "Is he our grandpa?" The word landed harder than I expected. Grandpa. A word that should have been easy. A word that should have belonged to birthday cards and holiday visits and someone sneaking them candy when I said no. But in our house, that word had empty space around it. He is my father, I said carefully, and biologically, yes, he is your grandfather, but being a grandparent is something people have to show with their actions. Nora tilted her head. Like Grammy? I smiled. Yes, like Grammy. Eli thought about that. Does he want to know us? He says he does. Do you believe him? Adrian looked up from the stove. He was making pancakes, pretending not to listen too closely. I believe he wants to try, I said, but we are going slowly. Nora went back to drawing. What about your mom? The kitchen became very quiet. My mom is not ready, I said. For what? For honesty. Nora accepted that answer because children often understand emotional truth faster than adults do. Eli asked if Grandpa Russell liked soccer. I said I did not know. Then you should ask, he said, as if the solution were obvious. So on the next phone call, I did. Do you like soccer? My father sounded surprised. Not especially, but I can learn. That answer made me close my eyes. Not because it was perfect, because it was the first answer that sounded like effort. The calls continued, every 2 weeks, never longer than 30 minutes. He learned that Eli loved soccer, dinosaurs, and asking impossible questions. He learned that Nora loved birds, drawing, and correcting adults when they misused words. He learned that Adrian liked quiet mornings and black coffee. He learned that Maribel visited every 6 weeks. The first time I said Maribel's name, my father went quiet. She sounds like a good woman, he said. She is. Another pause. She was there when we were not. Yes, I said, she was. He did not defend himself. He did not try to soften it. He just said, I am grateful they had her. That sentence mattered because it did not try to compete with Maribel. It did not try to replace her. It recognized her, and recognition in our family history was not a small thing. My mother still did not call, but Fairbrook kept moving. Melanie told me people had started asking fewer questions in public and more questions in private. Someone had seen my mother leave church early. Someone had heard Brooke complaining that money changes people. Someone else said Russell had stopped sitting with Elaine during Wednesday Bible study and had begun driving himself. I did not know what to do with any of that. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied. Part of me wanted the town to understand everything. But another part of me, the older part, the healed part, knew that public opinion was not justice. The same town that once let my mother erase me could easily turn around and enjoy watching her fall. That was not healing. That was entertainment. I did not want revenge. I wanted peace. And peace, I was learning, did not always arrive as a warm feeling. Sometimes peace arrived as disinterest. One afternoon, I realized I had not checked Brooke's social media in months. I had not searched my mother's name. I had not asked Melanie for updates. I had not opened the binder. Life had become busy in ordinary ways. Eli needed new cleats. Nora had a school presentation about owls. Adrian was trying to take Fridays off. Maribel was planning her next visit. Clear Ledger had board meetings, customer calls, product deadlines, and all the usual chaos of a company that had survived the milestone everyone thought was the finish line. The IPO had not made life simple, it had made life visible. But visibility was not the same as happiness. Happiness was Sunday pancakes, a child's drawing on the fridge, a husband who sat beside you before you had to ask, a grandmother who knew where the spare blankets were, a phone call every 2 weeks from a man trying, carefully and imperfectly, to become worthy of the word grandfather, and a black binder that stayed closed. 6 months after my mother came to Portland, a letter arrived. Real paper, white envelope, no return stamp, my mother's handwriting. For several minutes, I simply stood in the hallway holding it. Adrian was upstairs helping Eli find a missing shin guard. Nora was in her room practicing a presentation about migratory birds. The house was loud in the ordinary way houses are loud when they are full of life. I took the letter into my office and closed the door. Then I opened it. Clara, I have started this letter many times. Every version sounded wrong because every version tried to make me look better than I was. I told myself for years that you chose Adrian over us. I told myself that because it was easier than admitting the truth. The truth is that I was ashamed. Not of you. Not really. I was ashamed of what people would say. I was ashamed that I could not control your life anymore. I was ashamed that my daughter had become braver than I was. I said Adrian was not our kind. There is no excuse for that. I returned your cards. There is no excuse for that. I returned pictures of Eli and Nora. There is no excuse for that. I came to your house with a list of money before I came with an apology. There is no excuse for that either. I do not know if I deserve to know your children. I do not know if I deserve to be forgiven. Maybe I do not, but I am sorry. I am sorry to you. I am sorry to Adrian, and I am sorry to Eli and Nora, who lost years with a grandmother because that grandmother cared more about pride than love. I do not ask for money. I do not ask for a visit. I do not ask for forgiveness today. I only ask that you know I understand now that I was wrong. Mom. I read the letter once, then again, then a third time. I waited for the old feeling, the rush of anger, the need to document, the instinct to open the binder and label the page, but it did not come. Instead, I felt something quieter. Not forgiveness, not yet. Maybe not ever in the way people imagine forgiveness, but something shifted. The letter did not erase 9 years. Nothing could. It did not give my children back the birthdays she missed. It did not turn returned envelopes into opened arms. It did not make Adrian's first years in my family less lonely. But it was the first thing my mother had ever sent me that did not ask me to carry the cost of her choices. And that mattered. I took the letter downstairs. Adrian was at the kitchen table helping Nora glue a picture of a swallow onto poster board. He looked at my face and knew immediately. She wrote? I nodded. An apology? Yes. He sat back. A real one? I handed him the letter. He read it slowly. When he finished, he placed it on the table and looked toward the stairs where Eli was now shouting that he had found the shin guard in the laundry basket. Then Adrian looked back at me. What do you want to do? I don't know yet, I said. And that was the truth. So I did nothing that day. I made dinner. I listened to Nora practice her presentation. I watched Eli explain soccer rules to Maribel over a video call. I sat beside Adrian after the kids went to bed and held his hand without speaking. The next morning, I went into my office. I opened the bottom drawer. The black binder was still there. 31 items, 9 years. I placed my mother's letter on top of it, not inside, on top. Then I closed the drawer. Some people might think that was the moment I forgave her. It was not. It was the moment I stopped letting the worst thing she did be the only thing I carried. There is a difference. My father continued calling every 2 weeks. Eventually, after many months, The twins spoke to him, first for 5 minutes, then 10, then longer. He sent Eli a book about famous soccer players. He sent Nora a field guide to North American birds. He asked before sending gifts. That mattered too. My mother did not meet the twins that year. She was not ready. Or maybe I was not. Maybe both things were true. But she kept writing. Short letters, no demands, no money, no pressure. Just small pieces of accountability arriving one envelope at a time. And I learned something important. Sometimes reconciliation is not a door swinging open. Sometimes it is a locked gate with someone finally standing on the other side, no longer pretending they never closed it. Maybe one day that gate opens. Maybe it does not. But either way, I know who I am now. I am not the daughter who was returned to sender. I am not the mistake my mother tried to hide. I am not a bank account with a family name attached. I am a wife, a mother, a founder, a woman who built a life from the pieces people thought they could take from her. And if there is one thing I want you to remember from my story, it is this. Do not measure your worth by who comes back when you succeed. Measure it by the people who stayed when there was nothing to gain. Measure it by the people who sat in the garage with you, the people who held your babies, the people who showed up before the applause, because those are the people who loved you before the world knew your name. That is my story. 9 years of silence, 31 pieces of proof, 1 black binder, and finally, 1 letter that arrived too late to change the past, but maybe just in time to stop the future from repeating it. If this story reminded you of your own, leave a comment below. If someone needs to hear that their value was never dependent on another person's approval, share this with them. And if you stayed until the end, thank you. I will see you in the next story.